When the messengers returned to the king, he asked them, why have you come back?
The man came to meet us. And he said to us, go back to the king who sent you and tell him this is what the Lord says. It is because there's no God in Israel that you're sending messengers to consult Beelzebub, the god of Ekron. Therefore, you will not leave the bed you are lying on. You will certainly die. The king asked them, what kind of man was it that came to meet you and told you this? You feel like Ahaziah had an inkling that there's a cat that speaks like that. He had on a hairy garment, and he had this leather belt around his waist. The king said, doggone it, that's Elijah the Tishbite. So you know what that means by reputation. That's why he said, what kind of man was it? This is that same Elijah that grabbed the mic in 1 Kings 17 when we had never heard of him and walked up and said to the king, now Elijah the Tishbite says, as the Lord the God lives from whom I serve, there will be neither dew nor rain in the next few years except by my word. He threw the mic down. They were like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? It's the first time he pops up on the scene. But it did not rain on the earth for 3.5 years based upon his word. This is the same Elijah that in 1 Kings 18 said to the people, how long halt ye between two opinions? If God be God, then serve him. If Baal be God, then serve him. Had a showdown on the mount ground with 450 prophets of Baal and 400 prophets of Asherah, and brought the fire down from heaven to consume the sacrifice after he had soaked it, after they could not bring their God to do anything. And he said, listen, I want you to choose the Lord. I want you to serve him. The same Elijah that outran the chariot that his father ran to get back to Jezreel, that Elijah. The same Elijah that when we saw him after he hadn't seen him for a while because it hadn't rained on the earth, he says, is that you, O troubler of Israel? That's what Ahab said to him. And Elijah said, I have made no trouble for Israel, but you and your father's family have. This is the same guy who, when he took Naboth's vineyard, Ahab did. He wasn't in that vineyard more than 5 minutes. And here comes Elijah to do the pop in. He ain't asked for Elijah. He hasn't seen Elijah. But the next thing you know, the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite. And when Ahab saw him, he said, so you have found me, my